Hi, welcome back to the Yarn Chicken. My name is Elizabeth and I'm a knitter from Sweden, and for this year 2026 I decided that I would challenge myself and do a knitting bingo. This is the first quarterly update of that project. I chose 25 challenging knitting related things to do within the year 2026. I also have a row of 5 bonus challenges that I wanted to get around to this year that aren't strictly knitting related. I want to go through with you how I've done so far and what is coming up next. So I have crossed off 4 of the tiles so far. The first tile that I crossed off in January was reknitting a pair of mittens. These are the Juicy Fruit mittens by KnittingLotta, and I originally knit these a year or 2 ago and I used the wrong yarn for them. I used a sock yarn which had a bit of nylon in it, which meant that it was just too thin and it let a bunch of air through. It didn't felt, so it wasn't that really thick and sturdy winter mitten that I needed. I finished these in January and I felted them ever so slightly just with soap and hot water, and then I chickened out. I said that I can't felt these anymore. I'm too afraid that I will mess them up. I will felt them again at the end of the season when I don't need these, because then the heartbreak is going to be the smallest if I mess them up. Now, I've spent a week in the Swedish mountain, the Swedish Alps, and I have gotten these wet. I've been sweating. I have had so much snow in these, and there's so much friction against between my hand and the ski poles. So these have actually felted quite a lot, and I can so tell a difference. This felted side is dense. It is not letting any moisture through at all, as in a bad way. It doesn't get my hands clammy when I sweat, but I feel like the snow doesn't go through the front. I actually went and wore them the wrong way around. These mittens, they have a very distinct front and back, but I went and wore them on the side because I wanted to felt some more of it in a more organic way, and I'm going to felt these more evenly because the back is just completely unfelted and I want them to be evenly felted. This is 100% wool. This is Rauma Finull, and I knit these on a 2.5mm needle, and I can already tell that they are so much better than the first version. The sock yarn version would not have been as good as these have been on the ski vacation. So really stoked about these. The second tile that I finished was beads or sequins. I knitted a pair of socks with a bunch of scrap yarn or little bits and pieces of yarn. I call them my rainy February socks because I wanted to make it look like rainy window panes looking out from a dark house into this rainy grey blue February light. And I used beads as raindrops, and I have worn the socks exactly once. They are in the wash, and I am afraid to see what they turn out like because I did accidentally step in latex grout when I was regrouting the kitchen while wearing these for the first time. That was a dumb thing for me to do. The socks are still going to be perfectly fine. I am considering reknitting them because I ran out of the black yarn twice, and I added just a little tip on the toe with contrasting pink and green stripe and drop stitches, and the dropped stitches of course scrunch together 2 rows, so you pull the yarn from the previous row to your next row and that will scrunch it together. So they are a bit tight. So if I need to cut out the latex goo and reknit some of the socks, that's fine. I will add 0.5 centimetre of length to the sock and we'll be very happy with that. This tile was not originally supposed to be just such a simple thing. I wanted to knit something spectacular with beads and or sequins. I still might get around to that, but for now I'm counting this as fulfilled. The third tile that I finished was knitting myself a pocket-sized scarf. In the autumn of last year, I made myself like a little knitting curriculum because I wanted to improve my small needle size colour work. This was one of the projects, finished that, and one of the other projects was knitting a keffiyeh, and I did. I got bitten by some sort of bug and I finished this little triangle scarf, which is not a triangle because I don't know how triangles work, apparently. This trapezoid scarf in a weekend. This is knit on 2.5mm needles again with the silk alpaca from Sandnes Garn, and it's incredibly soft. Now, the pattern I am so proud of. I love the execution in everything except for the middle increases. I wish that I had increased just on the sides and kept the middle straight, because right now this is what it looks like. And I think I messed up because I did increases on each side of my middle column, and then I twisted the stitches so they're not open and sort of forcing themselves into this trapezoid shape. If I had left them open, which I've seen other people do with their triangle scarves, I think this top edge would have been more straight. But I just tie this around my neck and you can see the clear, beautiful fishnet pattern, and you can see some of the trading route black, and you can see some of the olive branch colour work in between, and it's warm, it's a statement, and I adore it. I might return to this and perfect it, as in knit it in the proper triangle size that I wanted it to be, but for now I've worn it so much. I wore it on vacation underneath my buff because I needed the extra warmth. But that is my other finished tile. The last tile that I finished was just before we left. I actually scrambled a bit to get this finished. I did give myself grace to not weave in my ends, but I wanted to clear my needles completely before we went on our ski trip. And I finished these two cuffs. They are supposed to go into one of my coats because the coat is just, the sleeves are just far too big, and I want to be able to use the coat and not have cold wind attacking me from all sides. It's open at the front too, it doesn't close properly, so if I wear it and it gets windy, I have to hold it closed and then I will get cold hands and arms. So I used the Fnugg by House of Yarn in this ridiculous yellow colour, and I knitted just a simple cuff without a pattern, a 2x2 rib, and then a quite steep increase. And I used 3.5mm needles for these, I think. And I finished my work socks. These have been through the ringer twice. I originally finished one sock and nearly finished the second, realised that I would run out of yarn, out of this brown speckled one. I didn't want to buy any more yarn, so I ripped back both socks to where I started the heel, swapped in a white yarn to do a helical knitting, and once I ran out of that, because I split it into, I knit both of these at the same time to reach the same number of rows. Once I ran out of the white yarn, I added in a purplish marled speckled yarn for the very toes. So these are finished as well. These are usually what I knit on during meetings at work, and now I actually cast on a new pair of work meeting socks just today, because we had our first meeting back today. And since I had finished the keffiyeh, as well as the mitten, the cuffs and the socks, and I finished a purse that I've been working on too. Hang on. I actually have it in my little tub. This I finished as well. The only thing that I have left to do is weave in all of these ends and sew in the clasp. I haven't decided what I want to do for the insides of this, if I just leave it bare or if I want to sew in some sort of a pouch to keep it neat. But that means that I actually did clear my needles, and I cannot remember the last time I did that. So those are my 4 finished tiles. I have a few upcoming tiles that I'm working on currently. The one that I think I'll finish first is a 3-month-long no-buy for yarn. I am finishing that in 2 weeks' time on the 11th of April, which is going to be very nice because I have so many ideas that I wanted to make happen, and I'm starting to feel the constraints of the no-buy. But I'm also working on a pattern that I want to release, which is very, very exciting. I'm also working on mass producing slippers because I've been invited to go to a bachelorette party, and I want to make a bunch of sailor slippers for the entire party. So that is going to include buying a bunch of yarn, but that's fine. I'm going to use the drop snow, and it's also going to mean that I knit 18 slippers or 16, depending on, because I think 1 or 2 of the others are going to make their own because they are fibre crafty people as well. But those are going to be pretty much all I work on up until they're finished. So I have a bunch of fun plans ahead of me, and I'm excited about the knitting bingo progress as it stands right now. If I continue like this, I'm sure I will finish at least one of the rows or columns, but I don't really have a plan just yet. I feel it's too early to start being strategic with the tiles that I do. I just want to enjoy my knitting and enjoy anything and everything that tickles my fancy. When it comes to the sidebar, the few extra things that I came up with and wanted to include in this bingo as a bonus, I have actually managed 2 of them. The first one was make ramen, which I did, and that ended up pretty disastrous because I did a long slow cook for the broth. I ate one portion of it and then I froze the rest, and a week later our freezer went out for a weekend when we weren't here, so I had to toss all of it. So that was an absolute shame and an absolute waste, but I did make ramen, so I can cross that off my list. And the second tile that I finished in that column is joining a book club. I actually joined 2 book clubs, and I have missed 2.5 of the 4 meetups that we've had so far. It doesn't look to be too compatible with all of the other stuff that I want to do, but it's been lovely. Oh, I actually joined 3 because some co-workers and I are rereading Twilight, and it is a blast. It's just so bad, it's so ridiculous. I haven't read Twilight for well over 10, 12, 15 years, but rereading it with adult eyes, with all of the knowledge and the feminism and the no bullshit patriarchy attitude that I have been able to grow since I was a teenager, it is an experience, and I am enjoying it, and so are my co-workers. So 3 book clubs, and I'm still deciding on if I like and how I like the book club setup to be. So that's the current state of things with my knitting bingo. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, do let me know. I will leave the patterns, where there are any, in the description box as usual, and I hope to see you in my next one. Take care of yourself.